You, of course, are known one of the very few Kenyans who have that, what people may call a fairy tale from intern to CEO.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a story in between.
Yeah.
What would you say was the tipping point? Did you know that I'm getting to the internship to be the CEO, or was there somewhere in mid-level management that you saw something ahead more than internship?
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels like yesterday when I came here for an interview, but it's actually a long time ago, and it was in this office.
Oh, really?
This very office. This is where I came as an intern. I'd just finished my law degree. I'd studied CPA, I'd done CIMA. I'd been doing small business with one of my mentors. And he told me, James, I think you need to get exposed to a professional organization. And I'll introduce you to the CEO of Centum at the time, ICDCI. Why don't you go have a chat with him and see whether there will be a role for you? So he introduced me, and I came and I met him. And because I was quite qualified, so I was expecting I was going to get a bigger role. But he said, the opportunity available is as an intern. And when I came in, my first role was, I was working in the accounts department. But because the organization was very small, there were only about 7 or 8 people, and I was the youngest, I was then also given filing responsibilities. But the mindset I had is that one day I might run this company, I might own this company. So I want to understand how the business works.
Did you have this mindset when you
were
intern?
Yes, okay. When I reported. I said one day I might be there, and so I want to learn. So when I was in the filing room, I used to read the files. I would be filing a letter, open a file on a company. So I was always curious to understand, why did we invest in this company? What did people see? So I would go back and see from the starting point. And so I really enjoyed. I would want to understand how they do an accounts for an investment company. So I was not doing my job more just to do the job, but it was to understand the why. And along the way, I also used to volunteer to help other people in the investment department, just to get to learn more. So I had that curious, I was very curious. And fortunately, after about 3 months, we were raising capital. We had a public share issue in August of 2001, and the management wanted to find out how much the staff knew about the organization. So they administered an impromptu quiz, and I scored the highest. I got a prize of I think 500 shillings, Uchumi voucher, at the time.
The intern in the filing room.
Yeah, because you see, I'd been studying. I was trying to understand the organization. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey of always having that curious mind, not just doing the job. And so at that time I also said, I want to understand what additional skill set I need to be a good investment professional. So I found out about the CFA program, and it was not offered at the time, so I went through a self-study program. I remember I would accompany my then CEO even for presentations. My work would be to carry the laptop and set it up. I used to volunteer to do it because I said one day I might be the one doing it. So I was not just there to set up, I used to observe how it's done, how it's introduced.
And he'll allow you to sit through the presentation.
Yes, because I'm the one who came in with the laptop. I would put it together, it would be corrected. Okay. So it's been that journey, also working with my mentors, at a good board. So even when I would attend a board meeting, sometimes I'd go to present and the board asks me to stay on. So I'd just sit to say, one day if I ever chair a meeting, how will I do it? So I learned a lot through observation.
Shadowing, sort of.
Just shadowing. Okay. People did not know I was shadowing them, but I was just soaking in. And as fate would have it, about 8 years later, the board asked me to be CEO of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at some point, you left the company, and I don't know if it's at the same time you said the company doesn't have a big vision. I don't know if it's...
Yeah, what happened is that after about 4 years, the CEO left. The then investment manager was promoted to be the CEO. That is Peter Mwangi, who is now the CEO of Old Mutual.
Yes.
And there was a vacancy in the investment manager position. which I took over. The board appointed me as the investment manager. But at that time, we were very conservative. So a lot of the proposals we put to the board, they did not accept. So we're not making new investments. And what I really wanted is to learn and to do. So I told the board, look, I really want to be in an environment, a dynamic environment where we are going to do things. And so I got an opportunity in TransCentury, which now the CEO I'd worked with was a CEO, so I was the first person he hired as his head of investments. And so we went there and did a lot of work. And then the board asked me, would like you to come back? But I said, no, I'm not quite keen because I'm not looking for a job. I want a place where I will really make a difference. And so for about 2-3 months, they would call and I would say, no, I'm not keen. Eventually they said, okay, so if it was you, what would you do? They said, okay, give me 2 weeks, I'll come back to you. So then I put together a strategy document. This is what I would do if given the opportunity. And they liked it. They said, then when do you start? And I started in 15th of December 2008, implementing the plan. We formalized it in February 2009. In fact, I have the photo right there in my cabinet.
We'll use that.
And the rest is history. You know, when I came in, we had 6 billion of assets. I found about less than 10 million shillings of cash, an OD of 180 million, and we've grown the organization with the team. Now we have assets in excess of 10 times what we started off with. Yeah. One of the things we did very early on is, you know, I remember when I was asked by the board at the time, how much do you want to be paid? When I came in, my answer was, I do not consider myself an employee. So I'm not looking for perks, salary, memberships. That's not my interest. My interest is to create value and for the team and I to get a slice of that value. And so let's work out a structure that gives us that particular alignment. And I remember telling them, for me, the salary and the basic salary, I leave that for you to determine. That is not my big agenda. My agenda is, are we going to create value, and how are we going to participate in that value? The companies where I'm chairman, that's one of the things I've put in place with the CEOs. Very clear that I really want you to do well, and I want you to create value, and you and your team will benefit. When you create the value, we'll get to share in that value. And in fact, for 2 of those companies, I say my proudest moment is when I'll be here and ceremoniously give you a big bonus check. Because as owners, we've created much more.
Of course.
Much more than that. Yes. And some of them, unfortunately, we've not even gotten to that position. They've never really hit their numbers. And so for me, I'm happy when the team hits their numbers and they create that value. And there's that alignment of interest. So I'd like to encourage a lot more businesses to consider creating that sort of partnership model. Yeah.
Okay. Growing asset value in 10 times in just almost 9 years.
Yeah.
What were the fundamentals, and have you stuck to those fundamentals? What has shifted?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals are pretty simple. One is sort of the first thing I worked on doing is making sure that we had a clarity of vision, that we're all pointing in one direction. So within about 1 month, we had approved the strategy. So I then worked with the team I found here to get buy-in on the plan, on the what was our purpose, and then sold it to the board, and then we had one focused vision. The second thing was keeping that vision constant, because it takes time to sell something to people. So we did not change. In fact, we did not change any of our objectives for the first 5 years, from 2009 to 2014. We kept them the same. And every year we hit our numbers. In fact, we exceeded our numbers. So just keeping it constant. Then the third thing now was building the team, sort of getting people who are aligned, and developing and working with a lot of the people who are here, redeploying them. For example, I had a driver to the CEO. and at the point I did not have a need for a driver. So I redeployed him to manage one of our plots that was idle. And within a few months, that business was generating $1 million shillings a month. So just working with what I found, yeah. Then the fourth thing was going for quick wins. So there were so many things we could do, but we started off with the low-hanging fruit, quick wins, kept the focus to very few things. So we did not initially do many things. We just kept very few things. We just focused on it. And that has been the, sort of the philosophy. Even as we went to the next strategy period, again, it has been about focus and just being consistent, because it takes a while. You have to be resilient, working at the same thing for some time. And so you don't want to shift the thing too much. You want to give people a constant sort of goalpost. And you just keep on working on it and refining it. And now the growth is then the consequence of that. Yeah. And obviously now just ensuring that we remained very aligned with the board. So I think we have a very aligned team. Right from the board to the management. We're all focusing on one thing. Yeah.
Okay.